What if you could get your favorite breakfast wrapped in a fluffy flour tortilla? We're not talking about breakfast burritos, we're talking breakfast tacos. These are a staple of any Texan's diet. However, there's a severe lack of outstanding breakfast tacos outside of Texas. Sure, you can throw some scrambled eggs in a store-bought tortilla, but that just doesn't quite cut it. We're making these at home, which means starting with fresh, delicious flour tortillas. We're then going to transform those into the two distinct styles of breakfast taco. One is made with luxurious scrambled eggs, topped with any manner of toppings you may like: bacon, potatoes, cheese. The other is down and dirty by cracking some eggs into the pan on top of all your ingredients, scrambling it up, and then wrapping it in your tortilla. It's delicious, it's messy, it's breakfast. If you haven't been made aware of the breakfast taco truth yet, I'm here to enlighten you.
I've updated my flour tortilla recipe recently, so we'll start by making those. Add 300 grams of flour to a mixing bowl along with 3 grams of baking powder and 4.5 grams of salt. Cut in 43 grams of lard and mix with your hands until the lard is evenly incorporated. From there, add about 138 mils of warm water and knead roughly for 5 minutes or until a semi-smooth dough forms. Cover this with a towel or foil and let it rest in a warm place for 1 hour. This recipe has more fat than my previous one, which makes the final product fluffier and softer overall. For my vegetarian friends, swap out the lard for butter or vegetable oil and you'll be good to go. Look, there are a lot of recipes in this video, but I wanted to show you many different and delicious iterations of the breakfast taco. Let's start with the more layered version first. Within this version, I'm going to show you 2 recipes. I love bacon, egg, potato, and cheese, and bacon, egg, bean, and cheese. This means we need crunchy potatoes, crispy bacon, and creamy beans. A bacon, egg, and cheese is a classic, and it's Megan K's go-to, but I like the extra crunch that potatoes bring and the extra creaminess that beans bring. Easiest way to get fluffy and crunchy breakfast potatoes is by boiling them first. This allows us to evenly cook the inside and then crisp them up however you like, either on the stove or in the oven. Peel 1 large russet potato for every 2 to 3 tacos you're making. Cut them into a medium dice and then place them in a pot of cold salted water. Bring those to a simmer and cook for 5 to 8 minutes. You want them cooked but not completely falling apart. These should hold their shape but easily give when poked with a knife. While those are cooking, we can fry up some bacon. People have varying opinions on the best way to cook bacon. I honestly stick with the classic pan on the stove. Part of what I love about bacon is the back and forth between crunchy and chewy. I do, however, like to cut these in half so they fit in the pan easily, and I'll just tear them into the taco at the end. I don't want a long piece of bacon in the final dish because that's a quick way to accidentally pull out all the filling with a piece of bacon. Drain your potatoes once they're cooked and lay them on a tray to cool while we finish our prep. Now that those are situated, they only need a few minutes and some hot oil to get crunchy. Okay, now we can roll out our tortillas. Divide the dough into 45-gram balls and place them into a covered bowl so they don't dry out. After the dough has been divided, I like to get a cast iron pan well preheated over medium heat. Take a dough ball and place it on a lightly floured surface. I actually like a little bit less flour now so the dough sort of sticks to the board. I like to make one roll and then turn the dough and then roll and turn again until the dough is uniform and round. These will puff up from the baking powder, so make them as thin as you possibly can. Once thin, toss them in the hot pan and let them cook on the first side for about a minute or so. You'll see some nice golden browning on that first side. Cook for another minute and place in a clean towel or container to steam along with the other tortillas. Continue this until all your tortillas are cooked, and those are our flour tortillas done. Back at the stove, we can finish off those potatoes we started earlier. Heat 1 tablespoon of butter with a half tablespoon of olive oil over medium heat. This will look like a lot of oil, but I promise you need it for properly crisped potatoes. Gently add your potatoes and let them sit on the first side for as long as they need to form a crust, usually a few minutes. Don't move these too much or they'll break apart in the beginning. Monitor the color as you go and add salt and pepper. Flip over once the first side is brown and let them sit again for another few minutes. Now that our crust is formed and solidified, we can be less gentle and we can season them with garlic powder, cumin, and smoked paprika. Continue tossing and frying until completely crispy, probably like 12 to 15 minutes in total. For the beans, I'm aiming for creamy and salty as the main flavor that these bad boys bring. Drain a can of pinto beans and add them to a small sauté pan or cast iron. Add a 1/4 cup of water and a tablespoon of butter or bacon fat if you've got it from the bacon earlier. I like a tablespoon of chili and adobo to bring some nice smokiness. Lots of cumin and garlic powder are required, and smoked paprika never hurt anyone. We'll grab a fork and begin mashing the beans until roughly 70% of them or so are smooth. Let them stay warm on the stove and add water to adjust the texture as needed. Delicious beans really can be this easy. Now for a few very delicious but very optional extras. As I mentioned in the intro, I like serving these with jalapeno ranch. It may not sound like a traditional salsa, but there are a few Dallas places that I really love that serve this. This is basically a recipe that I made a while back, but I left the seeds and the jalapenos because I was lazy. Blend everything you see on screen and store it in the fridge until your tacos are in need of some saucy goodness. I'm also going to make a batch of queso, which I made a video for a couple weeks ago, so check out that for the recipe. Lastly, we need some grated Monterey Jack cheese, around 20 grams or so per taco. For the scrambled eggs, I like 3 eggs for every 2 tacos. Mix the eggs in a bowl until completely combined and add a heavy pinch of salt per each egg. Put a skillet over medium-high heat with enough butter to coat the pan and then some. Let the butter get foamy and then pour in your eggs. Begin stirring immediately because these are going to start cooking really quickly. I like this hot method because they cook quickly but remain moist and fluffy. I turn the heat when they appear to be halfway cooked because this is going to continue cooking as they cool down. Add a hefty amount of pepper and stir that in. These are now good to go and we're ready to finally build our tacos. I'll start with the potato version first. Place down a layer of scrambled eggs, top with your crunchy potatoes, gently add your beautiful bacon on top. Give this a little cheese love, and if you've got queso, maybe some double cheese love. If you've got the time, be sure to wrap these in some tin foil for the real Texas experience. It gets everything nice and steamed and well warmed through, but if you can't wait, I don't blame you. The potato version gives this a real heft and sustenance that I really enjoy, but honestly, I'm a bean boy. For the bean version, I like to lay down some beans first as a little bed for the eggs to lay on. Top it with bacon and cheese, and then hit it with some jalapeno ranch. These little guys hit really hard. The beans make it extra creamy and extra salty, and it's just overall an amazing taco. To me, the thing that separates these from a breakfast burrito is the portability and lighter nature of these. Most breakfast burritos are so massive that one is enough to fill me up and then some. With tacos, I can have a variety of fillings and not feel massively full and bloated afterwards. Breakfast tacos are pretty much available at every coffee shop, restaurant, and cafe in Dallas, same with Austin. The second variety, where you crack an egg directly over fillings, is what I associate more with the Austin style. Doesn't mean they're always made like that though. I've got 2 recipes for you in this style. The first one is inspired by a classic spot in East Austin. This is my take on the migas taco. Migas is made by frying corn tortillas and then mixing them with scrambled eggs. To make these, we can cut 3 corn tortillas into squares. Along with that, we need 1 tomato or a handful of cherry tomatoes cut into a medium dice. Dice a quarter of a red onion with half a seeded jalapeno and 1 clove of garlic. We'll cook this fresh salsa with the tortilla and eggs to create a deliciously moist and flavorful filling. The last thing we need is fresh avocado, and we're ready to head to the stove. Heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil over medium heat and add your tortillas once nice and hot. Add a heavy pinch of salt and let these fry for a few minutes while mixing. These need to be deeply crunchy so they can maintain texture when mixed with everything else. So if they aren't crunchy now, they will definitely be soggy by the end. Once cooked through, remove from the pan and add your salsa along with some salt. You'll see I switched pans here because I'm a dingus and I forgot that tomatoes will strip a carbon steel pan, so just use a non-stick for this. Fry your veggies until they start to change color and add back your tortillas. Don't worry about pre-scrambling your eggs, we're going to just crack 5 eggs directly into the pan. Immediately begin scrambling them until they are cooked but not completely dry. Season this with salt and pepper and you are done. From there, place the filling into one of your delicious warm tortillas, top this with jack cheese and avocado, and enjoy one of the best sleeper breakfast tacos. This thing is so nice and comforting. It probably has the most texture of any of the tacos so far because of the corn tortillas and the veggies. They stack crunch on crunch on crunch. It's delicious. For the last taco, we're making a potato, bacon, egg, and cheese mixed. Although these are the same ingredients as the first taco, the technique makes this a very, very different final product. It's a much more cohesive and put together bite. Start by frying 4 strips of bacon over medium heat. Cook these until they're about 60 to 70% cooked, because we're just going to slide them over and leave them in the pan while we cook the potatoes in the bacon fat. These are those same boiled potatoes from earlier. Add a little more cooking oil to the pan if you need it, and then add your potatoes to cover 1 layer of the pan. We'll cook these potatoes the same as before, so let them sit on the first side while a crust develops. Continue cooking the potatoes until they're crunchy and tender all the way through. Just like the migas, we'll add the eggs directly on top of the mixture and scramble over medium heat. Same 5 eggs with the same salt and pepper. These will go into those soft, warm tortillas with jack cheese and avocado, and these really did turn out to be my favorite of the day. The eggs and potatoes combined to form a soft and luscious filling that contrasted with the crunchy bacon. Maybe it's the mixing, maybe it's the seasoning running all the way through, but these really are bomb. Look, I know I just made 10 different recipes to teach you about breakfast tacos, but let that tell you how serious I am about these. They're one of the things that we miss most about living in Texas, and I had to do them justice. You don't have to make all of these, just pick the ones that look best to you and run with them. The migas make an excellent vegetarian option, but any of these can be made vegetarian with the removal of the bacon and the lard. There's just something beautiful about a paper bag filled with little tinfoil logs of delicious breakfast tacos just waiting to be devoured. I recommend making these next time you have an open Saturday. Brew some coffee, put it in a thermos, make these tacos, pack them all to go, and enjoy them somewhere outside. If you live in Texas, let me know your favorite place to get these. I always like knowing new recommendations. I'm interested if you could guess where we used to go based on these recipes in the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you really liked it, go ahead and subscribe. If you love what I'm doing here, consider supporting me on Patreon like these wonderful people do. You'll get early access to the videos along with a bunch of other really cool perks, so I recommend checking it out. Cheers!